Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. In this episode, I had a very interesting discussion with Suneet Singh Tuli. Suneet is co-founder of various tech startups such as DataWind, ISV Solar, and TRC Solar. Suneet graduated from the University of Toronto in Applied Sciences and Engineering. While being a student, he started working in his brother's entrepreneurial firm, WideCom. He started work with the objective of developing sales of large-size fax machines. He got large-size fax machines recorded in a Guinness Book of World Record, and they end up selling 600 machines over 6 months. In his second venture, he started creating battery-operated handheld printers and handheld scanners under the company named DocuPort. These two companies were among the first formed by people of Indian origin and listed on the NASDAQ. Some of the credits: Suneet Singh Tuli has been recognized by Forbes magazine in 2012 Impact of 15 list of as a classroom revolutionary. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations, while launching his product Aakash 2, tablet spoke about being a great enabler to transform people's life in educating and empowering poor and internet compounding access. In 2012, he and his brother received the Technology Achievement Award from the Indo-Canadian Chamber of Commerce, and Chief Khalsa Divan honored him on 65th and 66th World Sikh Educational Conference in 2014 and 2016 consecutively. In 2012, he has been recognized as the Entrepreneur of the Year at a World Sikh organization. At the next venture, Suneet and his brother developed a very cost-effective, affordable tablet under a company named DataWind. DataWind's Aakash tablet have attracted worldwide attention due to affordable price to the weaker section of the world population for empowering them with the computational and internet access. And most recently, he's working on an ISV Solar and a TRC Solar founded by a group of Canadian ventures and social entrepreneurs. TRC Solar is dedicated to delivering renewable energy solution to the most economical prices. Now, we talk about Suneet's journey over the years throughout all the initiatives he's been working on. He also talks about some of the obstacles he has to get over and what he sees as an opportunity in the market. He also talked about how much hard work it requires to build the companies and consistency and commitment over the years. One thing I noticed from all his initiatives is that there's always a component of giving back to the community through his all initiatives, whether it's a DataWind or TRC Solar. If you're business leaders or business owner watching this episode, don't forget to watch it till the end. If you're trying to solve an energy problem, whether you're looking for a more cost-effective way of reducing costs and for energy, or you're simply looking for more options, I think you want to watch this discussion to the very end where he talks about various different options and initiatives to control energy costs in a business. If you like this content, if you find a value in it, don't forget to send us your feedback, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Until next time, please welcome Suneet Singh Tuli. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Suneet Tuli. Suneet, I've been researching a lot of about you and your companies and a lot of interesting stuff. So you've been doing this for a long time. So I'm looking forward to a discussion. Looking forward to learning from you. You guys have been in business for a long time, much longer than I have been. So I'm looking forward to a discussion, learning from you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for connecting, and then look forward to the discussion.
Good stuff. So if you quickly just walk us, our audience, through your journey, Sunil, just give us a quick summary. I know it's just a long journey, but if you give us a quick summary, where you've been up to.
Sure. I've run a number of technology companies, partnered primarily with my brother. We, right out of university, started our first venture, took it public, and then we graduated in 1990, him in 89 and me in 1990. And we took our first company public on the NASDAQ in 95, the second one in 99. And then we took a company public on the Toronto Stock Exchange in 2014. So we've done a number of tech ventures. And over the years, we've generated a little over 100 US patents around the various technologies that we've developed. And now at any one time, we have, 3 or 4 operational companies and maybe another 2 or 3 companies that are in some stages of early stage pre-revenue development. So we, whenever we get ideas that we think are worth investing in, we put engineers to it, we put some money to it, and try to see if we can bring those concepts to market. So So, we've now been doing this for about 35 years, and the ventures range all the way from consumer electronics, hardware, software, telecom software, health tech, renewable energy, um, whole range of kinds of things. We're, very opportunistic in that regards. Although a lot of our ventures over the last few years have been focused on the social good, either telecom software and low-cost tablet computers for education in rural environments, or renewable energy, or health tech ventures. So a number of our ventures, or the large majority of our ventures, at least over the last 10, 12 years, have been focused around what we think is the social good, has some benefit for humanity beyond just us selling a product or service.
Very interesting. So thank you. So let's talk about the first business. The first public company, was that a fax machine or printer company? Was that the first one you guys took public?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was sort of pre-internet days. In the time and age when the fax machines were this new and exciting technology, we made fax machines for engineering documents, for large format documents, so blueprints, engineering drawings. We got some publicity for getting that into the Guinness Book of Records, and
Nice.
as we were manufacturing a very unique product for a unique market, we grew fast, and then were able to end up taking it public in the early days, and then it evolved from there.
Got it. How big the company was? Did you guys end up selling it, or what happened to the company?
So the company ultimately ended up getting restructured once the internet came about, and those ventures, sort of hardware fax machines, didn't have as much of a market. What ended up happening was that we that morphed it into making wide format scanners and input technologies of that nature, and worked with CAD companies, and then licensed the technology as the company got restructured, and we moved on to the next venture.
Nice. Very interesting. So the next venture was DataWind, right? Was that the next one after that, or was it something in
No,
between?
the next one was actually DocuPort, where we made portable scanners and printers, which also went public on the NASDAQ. And we made consumer electronics products. So these are for people that traveled with laptops and needed to print while they were on the go, or
Nice.
in the era prior to the camera phone, needed to be able to scan documents. We made a product called a DocuPen pen scanner and things of that nature. And that was the second venture. And then the third one was DataWind, where based on 16 patents we had on a web acceleration platform, we wanted to deliver a lower cost internet experience in sort of in the developing countries, in bandwidth restricted kind of environments. And we made a low cost tablet computer for which we received a lot of publicity as a way of acquiring customers. We worked with the Indian government to try to launch it for students in rural environments. And while the government moved slow, we ended up launching it to the consumer markets in India. And at peak, I think we did about 5 million tablets in 1 year.
Wow.
For about 2 years, we were the largest supplier of tablet computers into the Indian market. But that company sort of took a turn for the worse when India did demonetization and implemented sort of a flawed structure for GST. And that company then ended up getting restructured to offer telecom software into the telecom industry. So primarily a software kind of a venture, more so than the hardware that we used to acquire customers with. We used to work with the Reliance Communications, which was one of the largest telecom software,
Mm-hmm.
run by Anil Ambani, and we had about 5 million subscribers on their network, until, without much notice, they decided to close shop and sell their network off to Reliance's Geo network, which was Mukesh
Yeah.
Ambani's company.
Got it. Got it. So were you guys manufacturing these tablets, or were you taking and reconfiguring it and making it available to people, or what was like was it a software solution? What was that?
So we ended up actually manufacturing it also. The tablets were a customer acquisition tool,
Okay.
right? So we didn't make much margin in the tablets. The idea was to make margin and income from the recurring revenue streams. The idea was to make margin from the wireless operators, from the delivery of internet platform, internet access to people that wouldn't have had it otherwise. And to get the tablet into the right price point, in the early stages, we manufactured it. We actually even manufactured through one of our ventures, the touchscreen panels. We used to make touchscreen panels in Amritsar, of all places,
Wow.
and we had a licensing agreement with companies in China that used to buy from us, and in Turkey that used to buy from us. So we had sort of the core technology ourselves to do this.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think part of what we were able to do is bring the cost of these kinds of devices globally to a level that our target customer, those whose monthly income was sub $200, could actually afford these devices. So we were targeting devices in the $30-40 price range, sometimes lower, with SIM card, the ability to make phone calls, have mobile data.
Nice.
Our target base didn't have access to Wi-Fi. Mobile data was the only way for them to get to what they needed.
Yeah, great initiative, and very creative, I guess, right? So that is a market I think they need a lot of help, and you guys making it available to them. It's like it's for the great cause, but yeah, unfortunately, the turn took with the Ambani family, but looks like it was a great initiative.
Yeah, I mean, look, every business goes through its cycle. When you're a tech entrepreneur, you look for where you can make change, where you can create disruption, and at the right time, the right opportunities present themselves. As COVID started, and travel got restricted, and most of our market for that entity was really in India, and the ability to travel became very restrictive.
Got
Um,
it.
it was tough to continue to focus or invest in that venture, after being based in Canada. And at that stage, especially at the start of COVID, our health tech venture and our renewable energy companies, they took off and they started to do really well. And as a result, over the last sort of 5 years, a lot more of the focus has been on those ventures than some of the previous ones.
Got it. So is that ISP solar, or is that a TRC solar? I do see two names on a branding.
Yeah, so there are two different entities. ISP Solar is a technology venture based on intellectual property that we've created for a new concept of a solar panel. It's a new architecture for solar panels,
Okay.
and it's a low concentration type of solar panel. So we're using parabolic mirrors encased in a panel. That allow live tracking and helps offset the cost of PV cells versus parabolic by using parabolic mirrors, and get the cost of panels to a fraction of what they're available for right now. So that product is still in development. It's going through some UL and CSA testings and so on, and we expect I would hope by early next summer that we would have those products in market. The best priced Chinese products are maybe around 17, 18 cents a watt, um, in very large volumes. And we think that we can get this down to maybe 10 or 12 cents a watt.
Wow.
So it's a significant disruption of that market, which is a very large commodity, price sensitive market. So we think it could be very interesting for that market. That's ISP Solar. TRC Solar is a commercial solar power plant developer where we develop behind the meter solar power plants for individual businesses. And the reason we got into that was that as we were developing ISP Solar, we saw this very interesting opportunity where the cost of solar has dropped so significantly that now it makes so much sense to implement it. I mean, it's silly not to. There was a period where the primary reason for implementing solar was really, do you believe in green energy? Do you want to create a sustainable Earth and things of that nature? Today, it has nothing to do with that. Today, it's all about the economics. As an example, even as we're nowhere the size of the utilities in any of these environments, but we can deliver electricity at less than half the cost of what the utilities can, even at a small scale. So, somebody like Ontario Hydro may deliver to millions of businesses, and we can deliver to one business at a time, at less than half of the cost, or around half of the cost of what Ontario Hydro delivers to it. So without having the scale of Ontario Hydro, this is what solar allows us today, which just makes a lot of sense. So, a lot of our customers range from the agriculture industry, from greenhouses to dairy farms, food processors, lots of different types of factories, industrial production, plazas, strip mall, banquet halls, community centers, just very wide range of companies. And, with average electricity bills on a monthly basis in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. $15,000 means almost $200,000 a year. And if we can reduce that $200,000 to $100,000 right off the bat, without the customer having to actually spend upfront, without the customer having to lay out large amounts of capital, it just becomes a no-brainer. So it's very sort of interesting how fast this industry is growing and how compelling the business model is, especially from a customer perspective, because of how affordable solar has become.
Yeah. Is it where does the growth seems to be, Suneet? Is it around cities as well, or is it up in a rural area? Is it more an agriculture area? Where is more growth than?
For us, it's more suburban versus dense urban. For example, we install a lot on food storage logistics companies. So companies that are doing cold storage, your fruits and vegetables that, meat and dairy and whatever that are going into the grocery store are getting transported in refrigerated trucks. And then they are being stored in some sort of a cold storage warehouse before ending up in the grocery stores and so on. Those kind of entities have very large electricity bills. Generally, they are single-story or two-story, very large warehouses with very large roofs. So what solar needs to be impactful is really a larger roof. So it's less impactful if you are on a 20-story high-rise, because you've got limited rooftop space, which is generally already congested with, rooftop, air handling units and things of that nature. And then proportionally, the rule of thumb I give people is that if you cover your full roof, generally it'll cover the equivalent of 2 stories worth of electricity. Nice. So, while it's making a dent, it's not resolving all your electricity needs. Whereas if you do a cold storage warehouse, who may be getting a large bill, anywhere from $10,000, $15,000 to $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month, you can help eliminate their bill. If you think of community centers or religious facilities and things of that nature, generally they're not multi-story buildings. They're 1 or 2 story buildings with large roofs. If you think of banquet halls or convention centers, again, 1 or 2 stories, very large roofs. think of malls, strip malls, industrial parks, business parks, things of that nature. So we find more of those in the suburban environment, more so those kinds of opportunities than the dense environment, dense urban environment. So if you think about when you land at Pearson Airport and you look out the window, look at all of those low-rise, large rooftops, and you'll discover, on average, less than 1 out of 100 have solar panels installed. But they all could benefit from it. And the way we structure our business model is that we are a power plant developer instead of a seller of solar panels. So we're not selling you a solar panel system. What we do is that we own the solar power plant that we install on your roof. We lease that space from you, and then we sign a power purchase agreement with you. So we offer to provide you power at, in essence, half the rate of what the local utility does. And that's for a period of about 15 years. The first year, we charge you the same rate as the utility, 15 years, half the rate. And after 15 years, for $1, we transfer the ownership of the system to you, and you own it now for the rest of its life. And these days,
how long is the life for Smith?
So life is about 35 years. The panels have a 25-year warranty, but generally last a bit beyond that, and are expected to last a bit beyond that. So you end up paying half for the next 15 years, and then then you own it outright, and you end up paying zero. You get 100% of the savings for the 20 years or so after that. And, all of this is without having to pay anything up front. There's no down payment. There's no advance. There's, the way the business model is structured is that your only obligation is this power purchase agreement, where based on your utility bills over the last couple of years, we look at what your utility needs are and requirements are. We size the system accordingly. And the thought is that if we're going to generate that electricity, you are agreeing to buy it at half the rate, right? Yeah. And it's a compelling business model from the customer's perspective, because without having to pay anything out of pocket upfront,
there's no upfront investment.
You get it. You get a significant benefit, and then after 15 or 16 years, you own the system. So then you pay zero. Whereas if you weren't paying us, you'd be paying the doubled amount to hydro. And you'd never own the system. You've been paying to hydro for the last 20, 30 years. You're going to be doing that for the next 20, 30 years.
So one other area, we have a lot of these data centers. They are power hungry, these data centers, right? How is that, is that possible to run a data centers with your application as well? Or where you see the progress in the data centers?
For sure. While we've not done any data centers to date, we see a lot of the industries focused on data centers. In Canada, you'll note that a lot of data centers exist in Saskatchewan and off places. And part of the reason is that Saskatchewan has the best sun in Canada. The prairies just by their nature get better sun, less cloudy days than any other part of Canada. And the result is the performance of the panels is better. You get more sun hours, and there are many green solar renewable energy generated data centers in Saskatchewan. People wouldn't think that Saskatchewan is a hub of data centers in Canada, but it is because of this reason. So it makes a lot of sense for data centers because there is heavy power consumption. There's a lot of consumption with coolers and cooling mechanisms to keep those system functioning, efficiently and keep the heat down. So.
Yeah, because they keep lines of generators, right? If there's a power outage, but this could be a solution to those. Instead of having those 15, 20 generators in a row, maybe cut down on those and invest in So,
Oh yeah. I
great
mean,
addition. Mhm.
solar and batteries would go a long way.
Yeah.
Battery technology is improving. It's not there yet, but the automotive industry is a big reason also why battery technology, the density of batteries and the need for better quality, longer lasting batteries is there. Right now, though, for most people, that the utility acts as a battery. So generally, what would happen is that you consume whatever the solar power plant is generating, and if anything is extra, you use that to power your batteries. You use that to recharge your batteries,
Okay.
so that you can use it when solar isn't there because it's a cloudy day or it's nighttime or whatever. But in all of the provinces across Canada, the utilities act as the virtual battery. So what happens is that when you're generating extra, that extra energy goes back to the utility. It's a system called net metering, and they give you credit for it. So when we set up these systems, when we design these systems, we design them such that you generate extra during the summer,
Okay.
and you use that not only at night times during the summer, but you keep enough extra so that when you have less sun hours in the winter, you can you can use those credits that are generated in the summer. And as I was saying earlier, solar has become so affordable. It's not only viable here. Many people think, yeah, it would make sense in Arizona or Texas or Florida or California where they get a lot of sun. And that's true. Florida is 1,700 hours of sun on an annual basis. Ontario is 1,266. BC is around 1,180. But despite that, it is very viable. Despite that, we're
Mhm.
able to offer energy at half the cost of the local utility without the customer being, having to spend anything upfront. So the utility acts as a virtual battery. You get credit for what you want. If you want it to be totally self-reliant, then you need to spend on batteries, which doesn't make sense if the utility is willing to be your virtual battery.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. So, is it getting efficient over the time? You mentioned that there's a lot of innovation in technology. So, reason we can do that in Ontario now, like at this day and age, that we couldn't do that before, is it because it's getting more efficient
It
or
is.
advancement and innovations?
Yeah. So technology continues to improve. And remember, this is a massive, multi-hundred-billion-dollar global industry. This
Okay.
is a massive, massive industry, uh, fastest growing segment of the energy industries. Um, so not only is there a lot of money and effort spent around innovation,
Mhm.
so technology continues to improve. But the other aspect is, fierce competition has continued creating greater efficiencies in manufacturing and distribution, which continues dropping prices down. There's a significant over the last 10 years, sort of 4 or 5x drop in pricing of panels and other elements. Panels is not the only things it takes to set up a solar power plant. There's racking, there's inverters, there are disconnects and switches, and there's a whole balance of system that's involved in that process. And then there are costs associated with permitting and other aspects and interconnections with the utility. So there are many other elements of this, but um, uh, you know, just fierce competition in a large industry, which is already commoditized globally, has driven prices down a lot. And the other third aspect that's making this viable today is that the government, both in Canada and the U.S. and Europe also, the governments are very supportive of these. In Canada, in the 2022 fall economic statement, they made an announcement of Bill C-59, and it finally received royal assent in June of 2024. And under Bill C-59, the government provides up to 30% as a refundable tax credit. Similar to SHREDS, the technology-based tax credits for R&D that you do, which can be used to offset taxes or receive a cash back. The government's now enacted within the tax code this support for renewable energy. And they've emulated a system that the US has had in place for the last 10, 15 years. And to stay competitive with the US, they finally decided in Canada they need to do something similar. So, this extra 30% that the government's giving also has a big impact in setting up these systems and so on.
Yeah, one of the industry I just thought of it. I happen to know quite a few people is mining industry. I know every time they open a new mine, especially in whether it's a Red Lake, Ontario, or it's in a BC somewhere, the first push is finding electricity around there to run all their operations. And I think those kind of opportunities, what you just mentioned, that this is a great opportunity for them. While they're waiting for other alternatives, at least they can run their smaller operations and then figure out where the opportunity lies. But I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of mining industry.
I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunities in mining industries. When you think about remote mining industries, it also reminded me there are a lot of remote First Nations communities.
Yeah.
There are literally dozens of communities in Ontario alone, ranging from 200 people to 2,000 people, where in hundreds of years of or 150 years of us developing highways and roads and so on, we've not been able to make roads up to them.
Yeah.
So, to serve these communities, the utility set up massive diesel generators. Mm-hmm. They have to fly diesel fuel to those. So not only are these, polluting through noise and other means of the local environment, but if because of bad weather, the plane that's going to bring your diesel in doesn't reach you, then you may go days without having energy. So when we think of First Nations communities that don't have clean water, it's partially because they don't have consistent, reliable access to energy, and solar is very valuable in that environment, right? The generators can be a backup, but as the battery technologies improve and you can store that energy, in addition to setting up solar power plants, the whole system that can create a self-sustaining kind of environment will be very valuable. And in Ontario alone, there's over a dozen such communities, and there are many more all the way across Canada, where just it makes just so much sense. So there's a lot of potential. And as I said earlier, next time you fly into any Canadian airport and you're about to land, look out the window and look at all of those flat roofs and try to count. It's our business, so that's what we do. We end up counting how many rooftops do I see that have solar, and it's very few. It's rare. Which shows you what the opportunity is, but it's broad based. Some organizations are very progressive in this regard, have made big investments. For many years, the Toronto District School Board was making a lot of investments in setting up solar in a lot of their schools. And there are other organizations, but you look at every Tim Hortons across the country, you took a look at every gas station across the country, and as energy demand increases, as we set up and we go towards a world that's going to use more and more electrical vehicles, you're going to also need to supply a lot more power to be able to do those. So I think you have. Many, it's a massive industry, and especially in Canada, it's still not been effectively tapped. So we see significant growth over the next few years.
So how big is the company? Give us our audience a little bit idea. How big is the company currently, and what's the goal looks like? Where do you guys see that taking this company, Suneet?
So we do about 20 to 25 mil worth of projects on an annual basis. And these are primarily based on grants that may get approved. Agriculture Canada may put out some grants, and Infrastructure Canada may put out some grants, and Environment Canada may put out some grants, and other Transport Canada has various grants that come out, and so on. And in Canada, the industry was primarily based on these grants that would come out for small windows. They open up on February 1st, and they'd run out of money by February 12th. So the whole industry was, sort of watch for the grant, and the moment it opens up, get as many applications in before the funding runs out, and then you wait for the next one to open up, and these various departments will open up these grants, and it's based on that we've been able to sustain this level of revenue.
Nice.
But what's happened is that every time we make a number of applications, we'd still get a lot of customers that wouldn't get approved because the funding would run out. So with Bill C-59, what's happened is that we're not dependent on that. The government's made it part of the tax code. It's out there for the next 10 years. And we have a pipeline right now in excess of about 150 million of signed agreements that with the implementation of Bill C-59, we hope to be able to, put in with the demand that we see out there, and relatively how eager customers are when we explain the proposition to them. We're confident that we can scale 4 or 5x our current revenue level and sustain 100 million a year in the Canadian market within the next year or so. And we're also looking at the U.S. market, and we think that there's growth opportunities for us also into the U.S. market.
Interesting. Do you own a patent in this either for ISP or TRC? Do you own a patent in this as well, or was it only for DataWind?
So ISP has 3 patents. Okay. TRC as a power plant developer is, as I mentioned, is some sort of is like a commodity business. It's the business model that's unique. Okay. The compelling proposition comes from the business model more so than the technology within TRC Solar. But within ISP Solar, we have 3 patents and products and technology that we're developing based on that. But TRC Solar isn't a specifically intellectual property based venture. It's a venture that provides a business model where, without you taking on any debt, without you providing an advance or providing a deposit, you get the benefit of having your, halving, reducing your energy costs to half, and ultimately owning the power plant and reducing your energy costs to almost zero. Intellectual property is still very important for what we do, and apart from TRC Solar and ISP Solar, we have health tech ventures and other things that we do where they're dependent on a lot of intellectual property that we spend time on doing R&D for.
Got it. So let me switch a little bit gear in a business. So I see whether you maybe it's me, I'm just reading into it. I'm seeing a pattern, but whether you were doing a DataWind or you doing a TRC, you trying to give back to community, you trying to do good business, you trying to in a DataWind, you trying to make those tablets available to where much needed in the people who are not served well. And are you doing the same thing with the solar? Where is this doing good in a business coming from? How do you guys approach that? Is that intentional, or is it just is that some part of you? Where is that coming from?
So it's over the last while, it's been intentional. I mean, we've been in business for 35 years, have done a number of businesses, done a number of IPOs and so on. And God's been kind enough to put us in a position that we, we can sustain ourselves. We seed all of our ventures ourselves. And so when we take on opportunities, there's got to be some level of self-satisfaction that we're doing something that has broader benefit. The business part of it is important. We don't run charities. We believe that to be scalable, you have to create a for-profit business. But for us, it's very important that the net result of that business is something that gives us a good night's sleep, that we've done benefit for the world, that we've done benefits for, we've benefited our neighbors in some manner. Part of it is the Sikh orthodoxies. Part of it is, comes from our own moral or religious beliefs and things of that nature. But part of it is that, as I said, God's been kind enough to put us in a circumstance where we can choose the opportunity or choose the venture, don't need to run to each opportunity that potentially makes money. It's got to be something that feels like, hey, that was fun, that was interesting. We created some benefit for humanity out of this.
So I want to. You mentioned Sikhi. Definitely. We both. You practice probably more than I, but in our community, we call it a seva or service to humanity, right? It's generally connected with the doing something in our temple, gurdwara, giving back the langars. But do you connect that seva mindset to the business as well, and you consider that's giving back? Do you connect those two, business and doing good enough for people?
So there's some aspects to it, right? The importance of seva is not limited to gurdwaras. The concept of langar exists. We see university students feed homeless in downtown Toronto and downtown Calgary and things of that nature. We try to embed it into the mindset of our kids, saying that, you have an obligation to the rest of humanity. If God's been kind enough for you to be able to sleep well and eat well and so on, take that and spread it so that so others can also reap the benefit. And certainly that has an element to it. But seva is selfless service, and the difficulty here is that what we're doing is for profit. The businesses we're running are not charities. So to be honest, it's not selfless service. We're doing it because we believe in the social good, but we do it for profit. So it's a mixed, to our daily lives, there is a seva aspect, where we dedicate 10% of our time and 10% of our financial income towards seva, right? And that's the concept of this one. Okay. But the businesses, because they're not charities, they're not truly seva. The businesses are businesses, but they're businesses for the social good.
Yeah, but even though you're making a profit out of it, but without you, I wouldn't have access to something I have access today, right? So for me, yeah, definitely, I'm paying a little bit of money to it, to make it up. Well, it has to make a business sense, but I wouldn't have access to something that you just made available to me, right? So and in a way, I could afford that. I thought that was part of providing a service.
For sure. There's those elements to it too, of course.
Yeah. Got it. So let's talk about some of the challenges. What are some of the challenges? Every business have a challenges. We go up and down in a business. It's not that easy to stay in the businesses for so long and be successful. So if you can talk about what are those couple of top challenges that you guys have to overcome.
So certainly when we compete in technology industries, technologies change. The internet killed the fax machine. Camera phones had an impact on our handheld scanner company. So technology is something that has impact on businesses, and you go in when you're developing a technology company, realizing that there is this life cycle to it, and you can't emotionally get attached to it. You've got to realize when that life cycle is over and the value of what you were doing isn't at the same level, and then you move on necessarily to the next venture. This is not real estate in the sense that you will always need homes, and there'll be new homes and new buildings being built, and so on. Every bit of technology and so on has a certain life cycle. So that's certainly a challenge. In tech startups, even though we seed our ventures ourselves, the first $1.5 million we put in from pocket, and taking idea, a concept from idea to some sort of a proof of concept or prototype or something else, getting our first couple of patents and so on. But for an entrepreneur, the ongoing chase of trying to raise funding to be able to grow to the next level is always a challenge. Um, and even though, certain environments have become easier, if you were sitting in Silicon Valley, it's a little easier than versus if you were sitting in a Canadian city. So sometimes we lose some of the best tech minds to those places. But despite that, there's tech investments in venture capital in Canada, and the Canadian government through BDC and other organizations, EDC and so on, it does try to make provide different kinds of support for tech ventures. Sometimes those programs are a little flawed, or they're the bureaucrats with biases and so on. But chasing and spending time with investors is an ongoing process for every entrepreneur.
Got it.
And then, all the traditional challenges with growing a business, finding new customers and explaining your business model and scaling those, all the traditional things that, irrespective if you had a Subway shop or you were making the next biggest AI breakthrough, those exist for every venture. No different for us versus others. For us, what's important when we do these is to focus on and understand where's our value add.
Got it.
If our value add is not in manufacturing and is not in marketing, then we develop technologies and we license these technologies. If our value add, for example, with TRC Solar, is a compelling business model, then that's what we focus on. It's understanding also where your strengths and weaknesses are, and then implementing your business models accordingly.
When the tough time comes, you got to find the energy to fight back and get through the businesses. And I go through that, a lot of those. So how big that your faith play, your faith and God play a role in that when you have a difficult time to get over those challenges?
So that does play a significant role, and there's no such thing as an overnight success. Every business takes effort, and your experiences lead you to a certain point in life and history. Um, and as you face those challenges, uh, if you believe strongly in the concept you're pursuing, then it's that gives you the determination to continue that. And our faith is very important. In Sikhism, there's this concept of chardi kala, rising spirits. Yeah. That in the biggest face of adversity, you face that adversity with rising spirits, with optimism. And in tech, history shows us many examples. The first one that comes to mind is 3M and the Post-it note. Those yellow stickies. That invention was caused by somebody trying to make glue at 3M that didn't work well. It wasn't a glue that was permanent. But what they realized was it was a glue that could be applied over and over again and didn't leave a residue. And, came by this whole industry of yellow stickies. So sometimes the lessons to be learned, from a venture or a technology that hasn't succeeded the way that you thought it should succeed leads you towards other opportunities, I say often that you've got to discover the path God set for you, and not be stressed about going the wrong way. There's easier path then.
I totally understand. This is over 15 year in a business, and I don't think I would have made it this far without a faith. I think that is the only thing, from my mind, keeps me going. Definitely it's a lot of challenges you deal with. Technology changes, as you mentioned, businesses changes, market changes, everything changes. But, personally, I can speak for myself. What got me through is the faith. I think that is the only thing's been getting me through. Every time I have a challenge, I just look up. And
for sure.
That faith gets me through no matter what the challenge is.
For sure.
Very interesting. So what is that? What's the roadmap for you guys with the TRC? Is there another initiative you guys looking into healthcare as well? Any other business you guys looking into? Any other initiative you guys looking
Yeah,
into?
so a lot of our focus is TRC. Over the next year, as ISP gets its product to market, that will be an interesting business that'll get going. We have a venture called Seneca Sense where we make sensors for elderly people in long-term care. These are continence management solution. Almost 80% of the people in long-term care have either Alzheimer's or dementia, and are forced to wear adult diapers. So it's difficult for the care worker to determine when the diaper has reached saturation, when it needs changing. So sensors that help us manage that process is a business that we'd started a few years ago that's done really well. And the business model with that primarily is through licensing. We license that technology to larger players in that industry, that's an interesting opportunity for us. We also, in relation to that, are making sort of a smart mattress for a clinical environment. My father unfortunately passed away on January 2nd of this year, and spent a lot of time in the hospital. And bed sores in that environment is a big issue, and the ability to understand how to deal with that, we think requires modern technology and a disruption, and so we're working on technologies in and around that. There are different things. Some of these technologies will take some years to come to market. But a lot of our focus really is around TRC solar, just because we see this massive opportunity that has not really been effectively addressed yet.
Got it. Very interesting. So business leaders who are watching, Suneet, CEO or business leaders who are watching, how can they take advantage of TRC Solar from, if they want to get some more information, or they want to have a discussion with you guys, how can they reach out and how can they connect?
Yeah, so reach out to me directly. I mean, email me to my email address. Very simple. It's Suneet, Suneet, at trcsolar.ca. And let's have a conversation, right? Let me understand, where the point of pain lies with regards to energy requirements. If your electricity bills are higher than you'd like them to be, and if making them half is something that you think would be of benefit, certainly reach out to us, and we'll craft a solution, again, where you would not have to pay anything up front or make a down payment. If we can make the structure work where we provide you a power plant at our cost in return for signing the power purchase agreements, that's where we like to be. So reach out to us, and we'd be happy to come up with a solution that would be of benefit to you.
Yeah, I will include a link to your website and also your email below this video as well. People can click a button and they can just connect with you guys and have a conversation. Indeed. I will definitely encourage business leaders, business owners who are watching, listening to us on a podcast, connect with you. I learned so much about that, the opportunity. Looks like there's a different, every industry has a different opportunity from a solar. And I think whether you're manufacturing or you're running a mining or you're running a data center, so reach out to you guys for conversation, see where the opportunity lies, and take it from there and see what works out for both parties.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for time. No problem.